There's a robin who keeps coming back to your yard. The first time, you barely noticed her. Now she's a pattern. She returns in the soft light of morning, or right before dusk, always at the hours when the street is quiet and the light hasn't fully decided what it wants to be. And somewhere along the way, you started wondering why your yard, out of every yard on the street, out of every fence line and rooftop and open lawn in the neighborhood, a wild bird who returns again and again is not doing it by accident. Every choice a robin makes is a calculation about danger, weighed 100 times a day, in fractions of a second. So a bird who keeps coming back has decided something, and she has decided it more than once. Researchers who study backyard birds have identified what that decision usually means. Most of it is not what people assume. Some of it is practical. Some of it is far more tender than anyone expects, and some of it says something about you that you never asked to be told. Let's go through it, one reason at a time. 1. She has decided your yard is safe. For a robin, safety is the whole world, not a feature of her life, the entire structure of it. She spends her days watched by hawks, by neighborhood cats, by anything that moves too fast or too close, and she carries that awareness every second she's out in the open. Songbirds build detailed mental maps of their territory, ranking every spot by how safe it has proven to be over time, the way a person might rank streets by how well they're lit at night. If she keeps returning to your yard has earned a high place on that map, higher than most of the ground she covers in a day. She tested it first. She watched from the fence line before she ever landed on the grass, reading the space for anything that might give her away. She bolted once or twice early on, a sudden movement, a slammed door, a shadow crossing the wrong way, and came back to find nothing bad had happened. Slowly, across dozens of visits, she filed your yard away as one of the few places where she can lower her guard, even slightly, even for a moment. That kind of trust isn't given. In the world of a prey bird, it's earned one quiet morning at a time, one uneventful visit stacked on the last. And she chose to earn it here in this yard, out of every yard she has ever flown over on her way to somewhere else. Which is the part most people never stop to think about, that she had other options, and she kept coming back to this one. 2. She has found something worth staying for. Once a robin decides a place is safe, the next thing she pays attention to is what the ground itself offers her. Robins forage mostly on open lawns, listening and watching for movement just beneath the surface, head tilted at an angle that looks almost thoughtful. After rain, earthworms rise closer to the surface, and a well-kept lawn becomes a full table for her, laid out fresh every time the weather turns. Studies of foraging behavior in songbirds show they return most reliably to ground that has fed them before, building a kind of internal menu of the yards they know. If your yard has a patch of soft grass or open soil she favors, she has remembered it, down to the exact corner. She knows exactly where the ground gives up food easily, and she has built her visits around that memory, timing them to the hours right after rain or right after the sprinklers run. For a robin, food and safety are never separate decisions. They're the same decision, made twice, weighed together every time she chooses where to land. But the next reason is the one almost nobody talks about. 3. She's telling you she feels no threat from you. This is the part people miss completely. When a bird keeps returning to a yard where a person lives, and keeps coming even when that person is outside, moving around, doing the ordinary business of a life, she's making a statement about you specifically, not about people in general, about you. Research on how prey animals respond to humans shows they adjust their behavior carefully, fleeing from people who move suddenly or unpredictably, and slowly tolerating those who don't. If the robin in your yard has stopped bolting the second she sees you, that's not nothing. If she lets you water the plants, or sit on the porch, or move around the yard doing chores, without flying off an alarm, she has already decided something about who you are. An animal whose entire survival depends on correctly reading threats has looked at you, more than once, and read you as safe. That's one of the biggest decisions a wild bird can make about a human being, on par with choosing where to nest. And she made it about you specifically, not about the idea of people. She could have decided that about any yard on this street, about any person who happened to live there. She decided it about yours. 4. She may be raising young nearby. This reason surprises people, and it tends to happen in spring and early summer, when the pattern of her visits suddenly tightens into something more focused. If a robin keeps returning to the same corner of your yard, again and again, at almost the same times, she may be nesting somewhere close. Robins build cup-shaped nests from grass and mud, often tucked into a shrub, a gutter, or a quiet ledge near a house, chosen specifically because it's sheltered and hard to spot. Inside, the eggs are a pale, unmistakable blue, one of the few colors in nature that people recognize on sight without ever being taught it. Mother robins stay close to the nest but visit it sparingly, usually at dawn and dusk, to avoid drawing attention from anything that might be watching. That's why you may see her at the same hours, slipping to the same spot and then away again, never lingering longer than she has to. If you've noticed her returning at the same times, almost like clockwork, she may not be visiting your yard the way you think. She may be raising a family in it, a few feet from where you've been standing all along. And the quiet corner you assumed was empty, the one you never gave a second look, may hold a nest you've never actually seen. If this is starting to sound familiar, that's usually the moment the rest of the story gets interesting. 5. She remembers you. Songbirds have better memories than most people give them credit for, memories that go well beyond simple instinct. Studies on avian cognition show these animals can hold onto locations, routines, and individual humans for long stretches of time, sometimes across entire seasons. The robin in your yard has been learning you, quietly, the whole time you thought you were the one watching her. She knows the hours you tend to come outside. She knows the sound your door makes, the particular creak or click that means someone is about to appear. She knows whether you move slowly or quickly, whether a dog lives with you, whether you've ever given her a reason to be afraid, and she has kept track of all of it without you noticing any of the tracking. She has built a small picture of you in her mind, the same way she has built a map of your yard, and the two pictures are tied together. She knows whether your presence has ever meant danger, or whether it has always meant nothing at all, which is its own kind of safety. Every time she returns, she is acting on that picture, the picture of a person who has, so far, been safe to be near. The longer that stays true, the more she trusts the yard she has chosen, and the more she trusts you inside of it. 6. She marks the seasons through your yard. Robins are deeply tuned to the rhythm of the year, and their patterns shift with it in ways that are easy to miss if you're not paying attention. In many regions, the robin's return is read as one of the first honest signs that spring has arrived, long before the calendar agrees. Her feeding grounds, her visibility, even her song all change with daylight and temperature, adjusting almost day by day. If she shows up more in early spring, it may be tied to nesting and fresh ground, the lawn finally soft enough to work. If she lingers into colder weeks, it may be because your yard still offers something the wider landscape has already lost: food, or shelter, or simply less wind. Watching her come and go across the year is, in a quiet way, watching the seasons turn without ever needing to check a calendar. She is a small living clock set to a rhythm older than any date on a page, and her visits mark the passing of the year in your yard as faithfully as any clock could. 7. She trusts the stillness of your yard. This one is about the feeling of a place, something birds sense that people rarely notice about their own homes. Songbirds need calm. They struggle in places with constant noise or sudden, unpredictable movement, the kind that keeps a prey animal permanently on edge. Research on stress in wild birds shows they favor home ranges with low disturbance, and return most reliably to the quietest corners available to them. If the robin keeps coming back, your yard is one of those quiet places, whether or not you've ever thought of it that way. The stillness you may not even register, a porch in the morning, a predictable rhythm that never startles her, the absence of anything sudden, is exactly what she has been looking for. She chose your yard partly because of its peace, a quality that's easy to overlook from the inside. And in choosing it, she is telling you something gentle about the kind of place your yard has become, maybe without you ever trying to make it that way. There's one more reason, and it's the one that matters most. She has made your yard part of her world. After every practical reason is accounted for, the safety, the food, the quiet, the memory, there's still something deeper in a bird's repeated return, something that doesn't fully reduce to any single explanation. She has woven your yard into the small map of her life, one of the few fixed points she navigates by. To a wild bird, the world isn't large. It's a handful of safe places, connected by careful paths, surrounded on all sides by risk she has to manage every hour she's awake. And when she keeps coming back to your yard, she's telling you it has become one of those few fixed points, one of the small number of places in the world she can count on. You didn't have to earn that on purpose. You earned it simply by being calm, by letting her be, by leaving the yard quiet enough to trust, without ever knowing you were being evaluated at all. The robin who visits your yard isn't a pet. She owes you nothing. She could choose any yard on the street, and instead she chooses yours, again and again, for reasons entirely her own. An animal who spends every waking hour calculating the distance to the nearest cover has decided that this small piece of ground is worth the risk, over and over, visit after visit. That's not nothing. In the quiet language of a bird with everything to lose, that's something very close to trust. It has been happening every morning, every dusk, while you made coffee, while you lived your life a few feet of glass away from hers, unaware of how much attention was being paid in return. She has been there. She has been choosing your yard, quietly, the whole time. And now when you see her again, standing on the grass the way she always does, you'll know exactly what she has been trying to tell you all along. If this is the robin you know, the comment section tends to fill up with stories just like hers. Yours would fit right in there.